When you hear the word cloudburst, do you imagine a cloud literally bursting? That's actually a myth. In today's lecture, we will understand what a cloudburst really is, why it happens, and why the recent Kishtwar incident is important for the UPSC examination. Hello everyone, my name is Rajni Jha. Welcome to Drishti IAS. Let's have a look at the news first. It says, a cloudburst struck the Chatru area of Kishtwar district in Jammu and Kashmir, which triggered flash floods that damaged shops, houses, disrupted transports, and also led to the closure of schools across Chenab Valley. Although there was no loss of life that was reported. Separately, there were heavy rainfalls in Assam and Nagaland, which, according to Indian Meteorological Department, was just heavy rainfall. It was not cloudburst. And this begs the question, what exactly is a cloudburst? And also the fact that we should not be using this term, which is a scientific term, for any heavy rainfall for that matter. And we need to understand what exactly cloudbursts are. So, according to Indian Meteorological Department, cloudburst is a rainfall which is 10 centimeter or 100 millimeter or more rainfall within 1 hour over a very small area, that is 20 to 30 square kilometer. So, over a very small area, that is 20 to 30 square kilometer within 1 hour, cloudburst will be 100 millimeter or more rainfall. So it is extremely intense rainfall, not just heavy rainfall, extremely intense rainfall over a very small area, and that is called a cloudburst. Now the question is, how does a cloudburst form? And in order to understand that, we should be understanding what exactly are orographic rainfall first. Once we understand that, we should be able to understand this as well. So what is orographic rainfall? So the word orographic, in that there is a term oro, which means mountains, right? Orographic rainfalls are because of mountains. You can understand it like that. These are also called relief rainfalls. Relief in geography is again same, mountains, plateaus, any upliftment on the land is a relief. So in orographic rainfall, what happens is the warm, moist air moves from sea to the land area. See, any air, when it moves above the sea or ocean, it picks up moisture from there and it becomes warm, moist air. So the warm, moist air picks up moisture from the sea and it moves from sea region or ocean region to the land region. Now there is a mountain, let's say here, which is why it is orographic rainfall. There's a mountain. Now this warm, moist air cannot go across this mountain, right? So it will be forced to be lifted up. Now once this lifts up, this warm, moist air becomes little colder. When the air lifts up, it expands, and with that it becomes slightly colder as compared to earlier. Now the cold air cannot hold as much moisture as the warm air can. So the cold air will hold moisture up to a point which is called the dew point, and after that the moisture will turn into water droplets. And those water droplets, many tiny water droplets, they condense and form clouds. So what happened? First, warm moist air moved from ocean to the land region where mountain was there. Because of this relief, because of this elevation, because of mountain, this warm air is forced to lift up. Once it starts lifting up, it expands and cools down. And once it cools, it cannot hold a lot of moisture in it. So the water droplets, they condense and form clouds. Now the clouds are formed, and because of that, there is rainfall in this region, in this area. Now once the rainfall is done, of course, moisture is gone. So now the air is dry. That dry air, that dry warm air just descends on the other side of the mountain, and there is not much rainfall here because moisture is not left. This is called orographic rainfall because it resulted from upliftment of warm air, which led to ultimately formation of clouds and rainfall. So it is called orographic rainfall or relief rainfall. Now in this, as you can see, this side where the rainfall happened, where the clouds were formed, moisture laden air was there, it is called the windward side. And the other side where there is not much precipitation or rainfall and there is dry air, that is called the leeward side. Now you understood that this lifting of air, it is called orographic lifting, right? Now let's talk about cloudburst. In cloudburst also something of similar nature happens. First, the warm moist air moves from sea or ocean region towards land where there is mountain. There it rises rapidly, just like in orographic rainfall. Once it starts to rapidly rise in the mountainous region, this is called orographic lifting. Because of this, because of rising air, the air cools down and it cannot hold a lot of moisture now. The moisture in that air, or that water droplet that becomes clouds. What kind of clouds? That is very important now. This forms tall cumulonimbus clouds. Cumulonimbus clouds are, they look like mushrooms or cauliflower, something like this, right? As you can see here also. This is cumulonimbus cloud. These are vertical clouds, and nimbus, these are dark in color, they cause a lot of heavy rainfall. So these are cumulonimbus clouds that are formed because of the water droplets that the cold air could not hold. Now this rainfall, as you can see here, before the rainfall happens, this was cloud, and this cloud starts rising, keeps rising up to a point. Which point? We know that in atmosphere there are several layers. There is troposphere and then there is tropopause. So this cloud rises up till tropopause. After tropopause, think of it like a lid. The environment is stable. It cannot rise any further. Now because it cannot rise any further, it starts to move sideways. This is called upper level divergence. Now why is that important? In cloudburst, usually upper level divergence happens, and because of that cumulonimbus clouds are formed. Because of this structure is formed. Otherwise it would have been directly straight like this, right? Now how does this structure happen? Now see, there was a lot of air that brought moisture. If this divergence does not happen, all the air will be suspended right here, and because of this here, the pressure will not be such that more air can rise up, right? In cloudburst, what happens? Because the divergence is there in upper layer, because of this divergence, there is space created in this region. There is space created in this region, and the air keeps rising. This moisture air keeps rising, and all that moisture keeps forming clouds, the tiny water droplets that keep forming cloud, and that keeps happening over and over and over until a point when the clouds cannot hold any more water, and there comes a time when there is torrential rain. There comes a time when there is heavy downpour, very strong, extremely high rainfall because of this. Now, if this divergence did not happen, here there would not be enough space for more upward movement of air, and there would not be sufficient water droplets that could cause heavy rainfall. So that is also an important part. Divergence part. The upper layer divergence is very important when it comes to cloudburst. And we will talk about that again. So, the rising air cools and forms tall cumulonimbus clouds. There is strong upward wind that keeps large water droplets suspended, as I told you, because the cloud have in the upper layer, it has diverged, there is space created, you can think of like that, and the strong wind, upward wind, keeps moving with moisture, and it keeps the water droplet in that region itself until a point when the droplets become too heavy and the upward drift then weakens, and then the huge amount of rainfall starts in a very small area. This causes cloudburst. So let's quickly revise what we have studied. What happened was, the warm moist air that moves from ocean towards the mountain region, that starts lifting quickly. Because of this is called orographic lifting. It starts lifting quickly. Because of this, the air is rising, it cools down, the air cools down relatively to the earlier temperature. And now the cool air cannot hold a lot of moisture, so the water droplets, they start forming clouds. What kind of clouds are formed? Cumulonimbus clouds are formed, and they start diverging in the upper layer. This is called upper layer divergence, which creates sort of vacuum here, and more upward wind keeps happening, right? It keeps bringing more moisture. It keeps bringing more air droplets in these clouds. So because of this, strong upward winds keep large water droplets suspended right here itself, up to a point when it cannot suspend any more water droplets here, and it starts to downpour. Heavy rainfall, huge rainfall happens in a very small area, and this is called cloudburst. Now the next question is, we have seen the difference between orographic rainfall and cloudburst. We can just go through it once again. First, in both the cases, moist air rises above the mountains, right? Air starts to cool, forms clouds there, normal, and here there will be heavy cumulonimbus clouds that will be formed. There also it can form. Then rainfall, here the rainfall starts falling gradually, but here, because there was upper layer divergence due to cumulonimbus clouds, more and more water droplets are kept suspended in the clouds itself until a point when they cannot hold any more water droplet, and all of them starts downpouring very heavily in a very small region in a very small time. But there rainfall happens gradually. That is why it is not such downpour. That is why it is not so torrential. The rainfall is not so torrential in this case, right? So that's what we saw in cloudburst. Now, why does a cloudburst produce such intense rain? We have already discussed. Upward winds are extremely strong. they keep lifting large raindrops back into the clouds instead of letting them fall. More and more water collects inside the cloud. Eventually, the upward drift can no longer support those water droplets and they start releasing it. So, water is released suddenly, causing 100 millimeter or more rainfall in 1 hour in a very over a very small region, that is over just 20 to 30 kilometers square region, right? Now, question is, why does it cause flash flood? Because if you remember, in the news itself we saw that there was a cloudburst which caused flash floods, and those flash floods actually cause destruction. So think about it, when there's a large volume of water that is falling down suddenly, all of that water cannot be absorbed by ground, right? And because it cannot be absorbed by ground, all that water will start rushing downhill, because it is usually happening in the mountainous region. So all of that water with such high pressure and such high speed, it will start moving downhill suddenly, which will cause flash floods, landslides, mudslides, and severe damage to roads, houses, and infrastructure. Now the question is, where are these cloudbursts common in India? As we have seen in this process that there is orographic lifting. So of course in the mountainous region it has to be very common. So it is common in Himalayan region like Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir and Western Ghats. But does that mean that it can only happen in mountainous region? No, it can happen in plains. It is rare, but it can happen in plains as well. These regions, they are highly prone because they have steep slopes, they have moist monsoon winds and mountain induced uplift of air, which is orographic lifting that we have studied. What is this moist monsoon winds? Usually cloudbursts happen during monsoon, because in monsoon, as I told you, that warm moist air moves from sea region during monsoon. This is what happens. From here, the warm air starts moving towards India, and because there is a lot of water in between, it picks up moisture from this region. So usually it happens in the monsoon region, in the monsoon time, but it does not mean that it cannot happen any other time. During monsoon, because water is moving above a water body, because the air is moving above the water body, it picks up moisture from the water body and then it strikes with the mountainous region. There is orographic lifting, and again all the other procedures are same. All the other steps are exactly the same as we have studied. Causes cumulonimbus clouds, then heavy rainfall, and leads to flash floods. Okay. Next is, what exactly happened in this Kishtwar cloudburst? So there was local stream, the water overflew. There were 2 vehicles which swept away. This flash floods, they damaged shops and houses. Their national highway was temporarily shut down. Schools were closed. And authorities quickly deployed JCBs and excavators. They reopened highways for light vehicles later, but at that time it were closed. All these things, the schools and the highways were temporarily closed. Now, what is the government response? What could be a response during any natural disaster? First, during this especially, rescue and debris cleaning operations started, of course. There were damaged commercial establishments, for them compensation were provided. Schools were closed as a precaution, we saw that. To improve preparedness, because we cannot just think about how to react after a natural disaster has already happened. We should be prepared for it also. So for that, installed early warning systems at Kishtwar and Machel. Apart from that, automatic weather stations were installed, and these initiatives are specially introduced after the last cloudburst that happened in 2025, because of which 63 lives were claimed. 63 people died. Now the question is, why are these cloudbursts so difficult to predict? We can predict heavy rainfall, but we don't know where the cloudburst started. Why is that so? First, because this happens over a very small area in a very small time, and it happens very fast. So it is difficult to predict, first. Second, because there is orographic lifting, that means it happens in the mountainous region. In all those blocks, Doppler weather radar signals, this is blocked. In the mountainous regions, this radar signal is blocked, it creates blind spots. So we are not able to figure out whether it is going to result in cloudburst or not. Then remote Himalayan regions have anyway fewer automatic weather stations, and high resolution forecasting models, they require enormous computing power, which right now we don't have. So meteorologist or meteorological department, they can predict heavy rainfall, but where exactly the cloudburst starts, that is very difficult to be predicted. Now, what are the government initiatives for this? There are two major initiatives, Mission Mausam and IMD Nowcasting. Mission Mausam is about expanding India's Doppler weather radar network that we just talked about, also using AI for hyper-local weather prediction, for predicting weather in a very small area, in a local area. Then IMD nowcasting, which provides weather alerts for few hours before all of this happens at least. Next, okay, we talked about cloudburst. So why is it happening? Why are there any reasons for which we are responsible for this as well, not just the nature? So if we talk about cloudburst, we know that the climate change is happening, right? And climate change means right now the atmosphere, the climate is getting warmer. And as we have studied here also, the warmer air can hold more moisture. And we know the more moisture there is, the more chances of heavy rainfall there are. So because the warmer atmosphere is happening because of climate change, it can hold more moisture. It increases the likelihood of short duration, high intensity rainfall events such as cloudbursts. So this increases the risk of landslides, floods, flash floods, infrastructure damage, and loss of livelihoods. And if you really think about it, it is not just about nature also. Climate change, we are responsible for it, right? So nature is responsible, yes, but at the same time, we are also responsible. And I'll tell you how. Second is disaster management. The Kishtwar incident highlights the need to move from disaster response to disaster preparedness. As I told you, we should be able to respond after a natural disaster has happened, and that is right. But what about the preparedness for it? Why should we wait for loss of life and property and infrastructure, and why should not we be prepared for it? We should be prepared for it. And for that, we have early warning system, automatic weather stations, radars, Doppler weather radars, AI-based nowcasting, and community awareness and evacuating planning. Right? All of this should be strengthened, and this incident highlights just that. There is Himalayan vulnerability. As I told you, in the Himalayan region, because of orographic lifting, and we already have moist air, because of all of that, these regions are specially vulnerable. So young, fragile geology. So this geography is such that their cloudburst, events such as cloudburst, landslides is very common. Besides, we keep doing deforestation, we keep going for development activities even in these areas, which are dangerous areas. We keep doing that. So because of all of that, landslides, because of all of that, cloudburst, and all such other natural disasters become very common. So it is not just nature which is responsible, we are also equally responsible. Then infrastructure resilience. We know that because of all of this, there is frequent disruption of highway, especially in mountain regions. So what we really require is, even if we are making infrastructure, there should be climate resilient infrastructure. We know that in mountain region, the situation is anyway dangerous. So we should have infrastructure that is climate resilience. We should have better drainage systems. There should be slope stabilization. So for example, on slopes, if there are trees, they will hold on to the slope, they will hold on to the soil, and the chances of landslide will be less. But if we keep cutting trees in the slope areas, if we keep cutting vegetation in the slope areas, the chances of landslides, mudslides is going to increase a lot more, right? Then hazard mapping before construction. So before constructing, before making any infrastructure construction in any area, we should be mapping it, whether it is, how much hazardous is it, what kind of infrastructure can we build, or whether or not we can have any infrastructure in that area or not, right? Okay. And another very important part is governance and accountability. See, not every disaster can be called cloudburst, as we have seen. There are just heavy rainfalls also. But if we simply say, oh no, this was a cloudburst, if we misuse the term by calling a heavy rainfall a cloudburst, it immediately brings attention towards nature, that it is because of nature that it is happening. It is not because of us. We could not do anything in it because it is a natural disaster. So not every disaster is caused by heavy rain is cloudburst. Sometimes damage happen because we have poor drainage system, illegal construction on riverbeds, deforestation, unplanned urbanization, weak enforcement of land use regulations, and these were the man-made things that I was talking about. These are the man-made issues. So cloudbursts is happening, that is causing destruction because of nature, yes, but the destruction is also happening because of our issues. And what if we simply misuse the term cloudburst and we called heavy rain a cloudburst? It shifts the attention directly towards nature. It shifts the attention away from governance issues, because these are governance failures. These are human failure. And the moment we say it is a natural disaster, we simply put all the onus of, all the responsibility of every destruction on nature, and we move away from the governance. However, because of all of this, we can see that this is a governance issue as well, and we should be taking accountability. Okay, yes, before we move to the last part of this session, My live NCRT classes are going on from Monday to Friday at 5 p.m. sharp. We are covering new NCRTs in that, which are absolutely essential for your examination preparation. So whether you are a beginner or you have already prepared a little bit but your basics are weak, please do join me at this channel on Monday to Friday sharp at 5 p.m. All right, moving to the last part of the session, which is practice questions. First is prelims practice question. Let's have a look at it. With reference to a cloudburst, consider the following statements. First, according to India Meteorological Department, a cloudburst refers to rainfall of 10 centimeter or more within 1 hour over an area of about 20 to 30 square kilometer. Second, every instance of rainfall qualifies as a cloudburst. Heavy rainfall qualifies as a cloudburst. Third, a cloudburst is a scientifically defined extreme rainfall event occurring over a very small area. And you have to answer which of these is correct. Your options are A, 1 and 3 only, B, 2 only, C, 1, 2 and 3 only, or D, D is 3 only. Next, we have a mains practice question. Usually I give you the framework, but right now I will not delve too much into the details because I have given you framework for a lot of questions and I want to see what you write in the answer section. So please write in the comment section of this, the framework of this question, right? Let's have a look at the question. It says cloudbursts are highly localized extreme weather events that are becoming a growing challenge for disaster management in the Himalayan region. Discuss the causes of cloudbursts, reasons for their increasing impact, and suggest measures to reduce disaster risk. Now, I'm sure you must have guessed by now that because this is talking about cloudburst, and in the introduction we will write cloudburst, right? We will write the definition of cloudburst, so you can write that. It is asking they are highly localized extreme weather events. So they are also trying to explain to you the definition itself. So you can give the definition of IMD of cloudburst. Then they have specially asked you to discuss the causes of cloudburst. In the causes, you can mention the natural causes also and human-made causes also, right? How humans are contributing to that. Reasons for their increasing impact, why the impact is increasing, that you can write. Again, here you can mention human causes because the impact is increasing because of our contribution. Why cloudburst happen? You have to explain the process of cloudburst in the causes of cloudburst, right? Then suggest measures to reduce disaster risk. We have already discussed that what are the measures. You can also include some of the challenges. We have just seen that we have forecast challenge, that we have not so good automatic weather stations, we have radar blind spots, there are flash floods, landslides that leave very little time for response. So you can write challenges also, and then you write what measures can be taken to reduce the disaster risk. So I'll give you just the headings and you have to write the subheadings under it in the comment section below. So you will write introduction, right, where you will write the definition, IMD definition. Next, in the body, you will explain the process in short because the causes have been asked. Then you will explain the reasons. In the reasons, you can mention man-made and natural, because it has asked the reason for increasing impact, and the impact has increased because of our actions also. It is a consequence of human action also. And then measures. Before measures, you can write what are the challenges we are facing, just 2 or 3, right? And then measures. And then write a conclusion. Because it is a 15-mark question, this much you should be writing. And that's it for today's session. I really hope that you've understood everything and you've enjoyed the lecture. Until next time, have a great day and take care.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.